Yes.
Oh, you're not.
Hi there. Welcome to New Tracks Modeling. New Tracks is an exciting new digital opportunity to obtain mentoring to help you improve your modeling. You will meet talented modelers and manufacturers from all over the world who share their model building skills and artistic advice. Improve your modeling and increase the confidence in your modeling efforts. Share your building efforts with fellow modelers and have some fun doing it. The shows are live on Zoom and YouTube, so be sure to join in and ask your questions. Now here is New Tracks founder and your host, Jim Kello, MMR.
Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. We really do appreciate it. Hope you come back often and tell your friends about us. Before we start the show, I want to go to Father Ron Walters for the show's prayer. Father Walters, welcome.
Almighty God, just as models imitate the beauty of your creation, may we imitate your kindness and generosity to us in our relationships with others. Bless us now and always. Amen.
Thank you so much, Father. Glad you're feeling better. Pat, now I'd like to run the video for our sponsor, Brennan's Model Railroad.
For over 25 years, Brennan's Model Railroading has been offering unique products for the O-scale market. Our flagship product, Brennan's Better Ballast, was an instant hit and continues to be the industry leader. Its prototypical size and natural color blend of real crushed granite make it the choice for discerning modelers. Since then, we've developed a complementary line of natural ground cover materials. Additionally, we offer craftsman kits that anyone can build with complete photographically illustrated instructions that assume you've never done this before. The Sonky Wanky Coffee Company is the latest and the fourth kit to be added to our ongoing and highly popular limited edition Ellison Tribute series. These kits take Ellison's scratch-built iconic structures to a new level with Dennis spin. The idea being that if Frank were alive today, this is how we would build these models using modern methods and materials. Use the QR code to visit our website.
Well, we've got a full show tonight, so I'm going to try to keep the announcements very, very short. The main thing that I want to mention is next week's show. It's going to be very different and very special. What we're going to do is we're going to talk to Kurt Thompson, MMR. He is with the MER region of the NMRA. He is their Achievement Program chairman. He's really a superb guy, a great modeler, a great promoter of our hobby. For several years, we did what we call modeling lifestyle shows, and they were separate shows from the one that we do on Wednesday evenings. We've terminated those earlier this year, and we had Kurt scheduled for one, and that got disrupted. So we're going to do one for Kurt next Wednesday on our regular show. So this is going to be special. Number one, you'll be able to participate if you're live, if you're on our Zoom login, but you'll also be able to participate through the chat function if you're on our YouTube channel, because all of our shows are also live streamed to YouTube. And you'll be able to meet Kurt, hear about him, hear about his life, hear about why modeling is a major part of his lifestyle. And you'll be able to see how we used to produce these shows and run them on other people. I think we're the only organization out there, for example, that has one for Al Judy before he unfortunately died. And I'm really proud that we have that and have some others that we have that we'll be able to document for history. Because in my opinion, Al was the leader in many ways of the OM30 movement, and I'm so proud that we were able to have him on our modeling lifestyle show before he passed away. This is next week, the 23rd of October at 7 p.m. And I hope that you won't miss this, because you'll get to meet a really great guy in Kurt and hear about his modeling lifestyle. With that said, I want to go to a special segment of our show tonight that Phil Edholm was kind enough with Tom Farrell to produce for us about the DARE Club, D-A-R-E, in Pennsylvania. So Phil, I'll turn it over to you, sir.
Thanks, Jim. So Tom and I went to the, hang on, let's not do that yet. Hang on, just give me a second here. So Tom and I went to the narrow gauge convention in Pennsylvania, and we had an opportunity to go out and tour some layouts. And one of the layouts we toured was a club called the DARE Club. And I actually got a couple of folks from the DARE Club that are here, and I'd like to introduce them. So first, I'd like to introduce the president of the club, Dave Stanton. So Dave, I have you join me. And then the other is Brian Sipe, and here I'll pull you in as well. So these guys have a really interesting club, and I thought what I'd do is go ahead and just share a little video of the club and kind of the environment, and then we can talk about it both from the club, but also kind of their unique membership and kind of some of the things they do that's very unique.
Good. Virtually everything that we get is donated to us.
Hello, a young person.
She was one of our members.
Hey, there you go. Right. Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
My name's Ethan.
It's a single track
My
railroad.
name's Bane.
Hi, Ben.
Bane.
Bane. Bane's running a train.
Is running a 79 Montour. Just packing to a soft feeding to make.
Cool. And then tell me about the layout. Who
My
are you?
name is Ethan.
Hi, Ethan.
This is an OG's layout. There's O and 3 here.
ON30 in the middle? Or ON3?
O and 3, the narrow gauge.
Yeah.
This is the general. This is the inner. This is the outer. There's actually a point here and.
So with that, I ask Dave and Brian, why don't you guys talk a little bit about, first, tell us a little bit about the facility of the club, where you are, the layout you have, and then we'll talk a little about some of the uniquenesses of your club. So tell us just 30 seconds about the club. You'll probably have to unmute.
Club is in an old school building built in 1926, and we've been there for many years now. We are on the top floor. We have 3 rooms, one being real big, the other 2 are still pretty sizable, and we have one part of it on the first floor. And it's the Venetia Heritage Society building. We are there with no cost to anybody, not to us or anybody. So it's a really great facility.
That's excellent. And some of the other things you can see from the video is you have multiple layouts. Tell us just kind of a little bit about what those layouts are, so people have an idea.
Yeah, we've got 10 layouts in 6 different scales, so it's it gets to be quite a bit of stuff for some of the kids. Here's a few of the if I can get it going. This is going back, like Dave said, that we've been in the school for almost 15 years now. The club is much older than that. He started it when he was the DARE police officer for the Peters Township School district. We are a Pittsburgh suburb, by the way. Everybody keeps saying Pennsylvania and you see Venetia, but we're Pittsburgh. So here's a couple of our layouts. This is our signature Montour replica. This takes up about 30 by 30 double deck and maintains the operation capabilities that the real Montour had for years. We have G scale. We've got shelf HOS, more traditional type O layout. This is all American Flyer type stuff. This is a working HO steel mill that was scratch built by someone about 30 years ago, maybe. We have an N gauge under construction. This is part of the big O. We have a whole classroom that's filled with O scale. And then we also have a portable layout that we take around. This is where over at the local libraries we set up between like Thanksgiving and into the new year over the Christmas season. And then we also can take this, this is down at the Carnegie Science Center, downtown Pittsburgh, as part of their yearly locomotion thing. So we've got a lot of stuff going on for, and it's all built for the kids. We are a hands-on group. That's our biggest feature, I think. You know, a lot of railroad clubs, when you go in, the first thing you see inside the door is a do not touch sign. We don't have any of those. And yes, we take a risk a little bit with especially the younger kids that you've already seen. We also have, we've got kids from basically, I say 8 to 88. So, and everybody gets to operate, run trains, and help out in different various things, help out with scenery, help out with construction, whatever you want to do, we've got a place for you.
So about how many under 18 members, participants do you have currently?
I would say maybe 25 total. It kind of
Varies a little.
kind of divides into two groups. The kids that you already saw there, there's a core group of I would say 8 or 10 to 13-year-olds that are there most of the time. And then there's another group of high school age kids and college, you know, even beyond high school and college. So there's another group of probably 10 or 12. Again, everybody's kind of on a rotating basis. There's no attendance taken,
Right.
and there's no fee, so it's not like you're going to cost you if you miss a day or whatever. But we're open for everybody, and we'll find a spot for everybody to run a train.
So you say no fees. Do you have dues of any kind, or?
No, we do not have any dues. We get the building for free. Everything we get is pretty much donated. So there is no fee to anybody.
Oh, that's cool. So having the young people there, you know, I see that there's kind of a lot of rewards of seeing them, being around them. What are some of the challenges that you've had to deal with through the years that you would tell people, and maybe some challenges and some ways you've changed the way you do things that make you better to be more youth friendly?
Well, I think for me, I was the dare officer at the police department. And so I've had a lot of training with kids. And I also have a lot of teachers that are friends and friends in different therapies and helpful people. So we've actually had, it's been absolutely fabulous. The biggest problem we have is when the kids first come, they got to learn that they can only touch their train, and they learn that pretty quick. And then it's to show respect towards everybody. Everybody is treated the same. Everybody's fair. We take turns. And so the biggest problem has been just keeping the kids all busy at the same time. And they all like to run the Montour layout because that's DCC and sound and everything. But the kids do enjoy just running all the stuff.
That's good. That's good. So, you know give us a few favorite moments. You've had this engagement with kids. What are a few of the favorite moments you've had, or some of the things you found as being rewarding for doing this? I mean, obviously, Dave, you've been around kids a lot, but I guess from the kind of the club perspective, there are a few things that really stand out in terms of, seeing a young person get something that was really important or things that helped them in their lives later.
I think one of the biggest things, the most exciting thing to me is we've had this happen several times that the parents come in and tell us the kids will ask their parents, how many wake ups till train day? And so that's really cool. And just seeing the excitement on their faces when they're running. Brian, what else have you seen?
It's, I think a lot of it more than just a moment, if you want to call it that, but broader term. We've had kids that come in 8 years old, they're there at 18, they're there, they come back during college years. When they get out of college, we still get them back. We've got guys that are, in their 20s, etc., that are out doing their own careers. When they come home, either in the summer from college or in the holidays to visit parents, they come and visit us. So they keep showing up, they come back and do things. It's not just go in the door and wave and say hi. It's they'll spend a session with us. We're there 2 days a week, basically 3 hours at a time. So it gives us a little bit of time to get in with the kids, and but just seeing some of that progression in some of our kids' lives is pretty neat to me.
Yeah, I think that idea that they start at 8, that allows them to really develop some friendships that are long term, which is very cool. So I guess one of the things I noticed was I did meet one parent while I was there. I think of the blonde haired young man. So how do you manage your relationship with parents that I assume are not, let's say, are not necessarily model railroaders or railroad enthusiasts, but are supporting their son or daughter? How do you engage with them? What are the things you do with them in that process?
I was going to say, Brian, if you have, yeah, Noah's now a firefighter, but if you have those ones from the T-track thing, we do encourage parents. Well, the parents have to come for the younger kids. They have to be there, and we encourage them to participate, help out. And the neat thing is, these parents have learned a lot. People that have, like you said, have never been model railroaders, they are now learning. There's the one picture of just all the parents helping and grandparents. Some of them are grandparents, and they're all willing to help out and just work with the kids. And to me, that's a big part of what makes it successful for kids, is the parents and the kids working together.
That's cool. That's absolutely cool. Well, great. I'll show it too. I'll throw it open to Jim and everyone else. I think that's some great ideas. We've talked a lot before this session about potentially working together on the scholarship and that. I'll kind of add in Jim here, and we'll open it up. Jim, you have any other questions, or anyone else in the New Tracks community have any questions?
I think it's wonderful. I think it's great that the community is supporting of you. I think it's wonderful that the police department members are basically some of the people that got it started. I wonder if that's happening around the country, or is this something unique maybe to your city?
There are a few places that I've heard of that has done it, but most of them have not lasted. Luckily for us, even though I've retired, our township is still very much a part of it, and they're very, very supportive of it. So that's made all the difference in the world, is that it's not just the police department, it's the whole community.
What about the local?
Be really clear. Dave just has not decided to move to Florida.
No, I don't like the heat. I like the cold. So I'm not. But I can tell you that we've had parents about several months ago, we had an open house and we had the two parents come in, and they were there, and they told me that their two kids, Pete and Mike, had been in the club, and I do remember them. And they said when they came here, and it's exactly what you said, is that they were starting to do some things the parents didn't like, but they became friends with the other kids in the club, and they started hanging around together. And the mother was actually crying, thanking us for helping turn her kids around. Now, the negative thing was, I said, "Oh, how old are Nick and or Pete and Mike now?" And I thought she was going to say 23, and she said 36 and 33. So didn't feel good. Another thing, the older kids that Brian talked about, they all now go rail fanning together literally all over the area, and they didn't even know each other before the club.
Oh, that's fantastic. That really is.
Uh,
I think you
uh,
guys are doing a great job. It sounds fantastic. I wish more of these were around the country. But let me ask you this: is the local newspaper supportive of you?
They have been, yes, and that's why we have gotten donations literally from all over the country, and it's because the local papers have done some stories from time to time, and apparently once it goes in there, then it goes on the internet, and we literally have gotten donations of stuff from all over the country.
If you go online and Google, something to the effect of Kids Railroad Club donations, the Dare Club is one of the first things that pops up, because we have been mentioned in several articles that, they were written basically when Dave was part of the police department, and the active connection between the kids and the police department and the Dare program. So that got us several articles written, and then people pick up on that. And as Dave mentioned, we get we'll get an email or a call, and hey, we're cleaning out Grandpa's attic, and I found 4 boxes full of train stuff up here. Do you guys take anything? We can't figure out what to do with it. Hey, you bet, send it over. And in a week or two, it shows up on basically Dave's doorstep, and it's like Secret Santa. You never know what you're going to get, and it's different things, different eras, different quality, different quantities. Everything that we basically get is really been donated and or repurposed. We've had several layouts around our territory, the Pittsburgh area. You guys all know the story. Someone has a layout in the basement, passes away. It sits there for a couple of years. Finally, the widow finally says, get this out of here. And we've gone in and dismantled and taken apart probably 8 or 10 different layouts in our area. And then we bring it over and we repurpose it. That big O scale you saw in the one room, that main platform is exactly that, that story. The big Montour layout that we have over 350 feet of main line. It's all repurposed. The track, even the bench work, we take everything that we can get and try to make use of it. So we obviously occasionally you have to buy something that you need a special switch, you need a special something. But generally it's been very, very rewarding that we can operate and on literally a shoestring budget, but we've got big shoes to fill. So that part has been good for us.
And the link to your Facebook page is both in the chat and the Zoom meeting and in the YouTube meeting. So if anybody wants it.
Dave, if you'll send me one of the articles that you wrote that appeared in the newspaper. I do a monthly column in my local newspaper. I'll put your article in one of mine.
Oh, cool.
If your newspaper would be interested in my articles, I'll be glad to send it to them too. Won't charge them anything if they want to use them in their newspaper. And if you can give me information on Dare, I can put that in each one of my articles. That would not be a problem for me at all.
We'll get them for you. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Excellent. Well, thank you guys. I really appreciate it. This was great, and like as Jim said, I just can't walked in not expecting at all what I found and came away so impressed with what you guys are doing. So
Fantastic.
um, have a great one. Before I close, are there any questions from the rest of the community? Anyone else have a question they wanted to ask? What's the largest engine that hit the floor? Nobody wants to ask that question? No. Okay,
Thanks,
guys. You guys
thanks,
have a good.
Thank
thanks
you.
so much for coming, guys, and
Thank you.
come back often. I mean, come back anytime you
We'll
want
do
to.
that.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Well,
Thanks, Jim.
now I want to turn to S-scale modeling. This is sponsored by the National Association of S-Gaugers, and we have their video.
Are you looking for something a little different in your model railroading? The National Association of S-Gaugers suggests you take a look at S-scale. An S-scale model is just 36% longer than an HO model, but it's 2.5 times the volume. The larger size translates to increased ease of maintenance, more durable details, and improved electrical and mechanical reliability. S-scale modelers use accurately proportioned wheels and track systems with KD-style couplers. Exceptional S-scale models and layouts are being built in both standard and narrow gauge. Locomotives and rolling stock are available from a number of manufacturers in both ready-to-run and kit form. Equipment is available both new and through an active secondary market. There are numerous manufacturers of track, buildings, vehicles, and details, both ready-to-run and in kit form, available for those who love to build. And many S modelers enjoy kit bashing and scratch building in the larger size S offers. To learn more, visit the website of the National Association of S-Gaugers. Here you will find the history of the scale, information about clubs in your area, see layouts and connect with current manufacturers and online groups, plus much more. In short, the website has everything you'll need to explore model railroading in S-scale today. Come on board and visit soon.
We now want to turn to Jamie Bothwell, who is the host for this segment of the show. Jamie, welcome.
Hi, Jim. How you guys doing?
Good.
Hey, a couple of pieces of S-scale news. I'm sure many of you subscribe to Model Railroader, and you've probably already seen this, but if not, this month's Model Railroader has an S-scale Explore S-scale special. It's got a layout feature for my friend my friend Roger Knowlton, and it's got an article about S-scale today from Brooke Stover, and then there's a scratch building article from a fellow named Paul Washburn. All excellent stuff. The other thing is that another piece of news and information is it's now finalized that our 2025 convention will be held in Norwich, Connecticut from August the 6th until August the 10th. We're planning a trip to the Essex Steam Train and a trolley museum outside of New Haven, as well as a non-rail tour to the Mystic Seaport. So mark your calendars, come on out, see what's available, see what S-scale has to offer. So anyway, what I thought I would talk about today is some kits that I have been working on. I've developed something of a passion for wooden cars, and I've decided that, I like to take these old kits. Now we've got a couple of these. Ye Olde Huff and Puff used to make these, and they're sort of out of the S-scale game, I believe. But there are some of these available on the secondary market. As a matter of fact, I think this one was actually given to me by a friend who said, "I'm never going to build this. Why don't you take it?" So I got that, and here's another one. Same thing. But what I like to do is try and build these wood kits and make them up to a little bit higher standard, try to get them more to today's sort of standards. When they first came out, they were sort of basic, here's a wood box, maybe some ladders and whatever. They didn't necessarily match a specific prototype. So I would try to take these and match them up to a specific prototype. Now, in the S-scale market, we get all excited if we can find decals or dry transfers. CDS lettering used to make everything they made in S-scale, but now they don't really make anything anymore. But there are still a few of these floating around. So I found this for the Intercolonial Railroad, which is one of my favorite Canadian lines. And so I used this diagram to sort of pattern one of these Ye Olde Huff and Puff kits. And that would be it, right? So there it is. Okay, so it did not have the truss rods. I had to add those. I believe it had ladders, and I had to put in. I'm sorry. So yeah, it had like a ladder. So I changed over to the grab irons. I built this the little door slide to fix that up. So anyway, it's almost ready for the paint shop. I added. Oh, I also added the end, the bolts that would be the ends of the truss rods. And then they had the car that I modeled it after. Again, you can see on the decal sheet, it had these corner braces over here. Need another hand here. There's a corner brace down here in the corner, and there's a couple other corner braces up a little above. So I just modeled those with pieces of thicker paper. And so anyway, it's almost ready for the paint shop, and then I can apply those dry transfers and I'll have a nice car. So there's that one. The other one, I was looking for a prototype for this one. Whoops, there goes that part. Now I don't have my end sills on either end. So I went looking for a prototype car. Let's see if I can share for a second here. That's the car. If I go here, share. Okay. I can't see this because it's in the way. There we go. Okay. This fellow named Ian Cranston has this whole thing about Canadian freight cars. So if you ever want to check that out, he's got all kinds of pictures, mostly the Canadian national stuff. If you look down here, he's got a spot for CN, a spot for CP, and then Canadian and private and other. So mostly the pictures are in the Canadian national. That's his real interest, I guess. So if you go there, there's pictures. So I went there and I found this picture of this Canadian national boxcar. And again, if you look at the website, I won't try to track down where that car is exactly, but I'll just pick one here. So it'll tell you all this stuff. It was a reefer and it had this, it was built in this date and it was this long and it had this and this and this. So wherever I found this boxcar, I sized it up to fit. I trimmed the floor and ends and whatever to make them fit. And then it looked like you can see down here, it's got like a channel for an end sill. So I put the channel on. You can see in the little, all right. So I added the channel and I'm still working on this one. I got to add the doors and whatnot to make that one spruce it up and make it match. I'm actually going to letter it for Moira Valley. Let's see, stop the share here, which is a friend of mine's layout. And that's one of the reasons why I was picking a Canadian car is because a friend of mine up in Canada, his private road is the Moira Valley. And he's the fellow that lives in Marlbank, which is the train station I showed you last month, sorry. And so anyway, that's kind of what I've been working on. So now, in addition, I did want to add one thing that I didn't get to say last week. I felt a little rushed. I could feel Jim, trying to feel. I could feel Jim's nervousness about being timely, so I tried to rush through. But when we were up there taking pictures of the train station in Marlbank, the woman, now it's a private residence now, so we didn't want to be too obtrusive. But the woman came out and she started talking to us, and she's like, "Oh yeah, we get people here all the time, come take pictures and blah blah blah." So we're like, "Okay, thank you very much." And then she says, "Would you like to come inside?" We're like, "Sure." So she kind of gave us a tour of the downstairs of the place, to sort of, obviously it was a house at that point, but you could still see like some of how they were using it. This was the agent's area, and this was this, and this was that. So it was really quite interesting. So it's one of those, one of the things I love about going out in the field and looking at stuff is the sort of serendipity that you get. You go to a railroad museum to see some train car, and you find out they've got 5 other train cars that you're interested in, and you just didn't know they had them or whatever. It's always just kind of fun. So anyway, that's what I got for this month. So as I said, mark your calendars. August 6th through 10th, come on up to Norwich, Connecticut and hang out with a bunch of S-scalers. It'll be good fun. So,
are you going to be the chairman of this one?
I'm not exactly the chairman. I guess you'd kind of call me the co-chairman. I don't know. give me a title. I don't care. Whatever. It doesn't matter. So I was the first person to make a hotel reservation. How about that? So.
Well, listen, do me a favor, write something up and send it to Martin. We'll put it in the newsletter.
Okay, great. I'll do that. Sure. Thank you.
Anybody have any questions for Jamie? Jamie, thanks so much.
Okay, take care.
Uh-huh. Well, now I want to turn to the S High Rail segment. And this is sponsored by American Models.
American Models, manufacturers of quality S-scale equipment for more than 40 years. We have 13 types of locomotive: the Alco FA2 freight engine, the Alco PA1 passenger diesel, RS3 and RS11 road switchers, EMD, FP7, GP9 R18, GP35, E8 passenger engines, and Amtrak F40 PH diesels, the Baldwin S12 switcher, Fairbanks Morris Trainmaster, and the GE U25B. And of course, the classic GG1 electric. We also manufacture 11 types of freight cars, 2 styles of caboose, and heavyweight and Bud streamlined passenger cars. We have our own line of track and roadbed. We provide parts and service for everything we sell. Check us out at AmericanModels.com or call us at 734-449-1100.
Well, now I want to introduce the host for this segment of our show, Joel Weber. Joel, welcome.
Hello, hello. How are you guys?
Good.
I don't think I've got my camera working. Computers are not my thing. What I'm going to talk about tonight is, my modeling efforts are usually to fill a need. And when I built my layout, a need that I had, or to be able to get to the back of a 6-foot deep layout. Let me share my screen here. All right. Do you see the picture?
Yes.
Okay, so basically I've got a 2x2 hole in my layout so that I can get to the back, which is important when you have crossover switches in the back and that sort of thing. And when you build a layout, the last thing you want to do is crawl up on it. So I had a 2 foot by 2 foot space. I'm like, well, what am I going to do with this? Well, I'm in warehousing, have been all my life, logistics and that sort of thing. So the natural thing to me was to build a warehouse. This warehouse surrounds the hall. The walls are made out of plastic, generally trying to scale the height for, it's a very small warehouse. If you're thinking in terms of scale, it's less than 17,000 square feet, which is a very small warehouse. It's made out of material from, Plastruct, I believe. And I've got kind of a ribbed outside, which fits very nicely as an insulated panel because this is a freezer warehouse. The top is a piece of masonite, which then lifts out. Obviously, I'm going to put a little more detail to that, but it covers the hole. And when I need to get to the back, I pop it out and I can do what I need to do and pop it back on, and I've got a building. If you look at it, for instance, from the front, I've set up a 5-truck dock. Again, it's not a very big warehouse. On the left is the engine room where the equipment is for refrigerating the building. On the right is the office. I still need to build steps to both. That's the next step. And also in the front, the door on the right is a grade level door, a roll-up door, where we typically in this business, we ramp up to that because you're coming up to dock height. The doors themselves are, I've got them set with a little closer look. I've built again, well, in this case, I'm using wood material to surround the doors. These simulate a foam insulating panel that the truck backs up to that creates a temperature seal when the truck backs in. You can also then see what it looks like from when you've got it occupied. So bottom line, took a need, filled the building or created the building, set it into a next to the city scene, and fits kind of my history of what I've done in my life. The building is, the doors are the right size, the spacing between them are prototypical, that sort of thing, but still kind of shrunk down because you don't find a lot of buildings or warehouses this small out there in the wild. So really started from filling a need that I needed on the building or on the layout, and fit it into where it doesn't look out of place, even though it is the largest building on the layout. And so much of what I've done has been in that vein, starting from, okay, here's how many trains I want to fit in. This is where I want it to fit. Now I've got to start fitting things in around it. And this took care of that gap. Any questions?
I think that's fantastic. Thank you so very much, Joel.
You're welcome. And again,
I just like that the next step was building steps. I just thought that was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because in a building like this, for instance, the first level in the office is probably even with the dock and the warehouse floor. So I've got to have steps right here in the front. The grade level, I mean, the roll-up door, I need a ramp to come up to that. And this is where a forklift may bring stuff inside and outside the building. The engine room, same thing. There's got to be steps to the man door there because its floor is level with the rest of the building. And this would be typical of a refrigerated warehouse structure where you get to work all day at -5 degrees when you work in the warehouse.
Good looking modeling. Thank you so very much, Joel.
You're welcome.
Hey, Jim.
Yeah.
Hey, I just wanted to make a comment. I called this segment sponsor on Friday, and the phone was answered on the second ring by a human being, and she was very friendly and accommodating. Real quick, do you still have the RS3 handrails available? Yep, sure do. How much? Oh, about $20. Quick answers, I tell you, it was very painless.
She owns the company. Her name is Karen.
Yeah, I know. Yep. I was sure it was Karen.
Yeah, and
I tell you, it's nice, you know, to call and second ring, get a pickup and a human, and get the information with, oh, let me check into that. Oh, let me put you on hold. None of that. It was very nice.
And they service everything they sell. I mean, they're nice. They're nice people. It's a nice company to deal with, and I'm very grateful that they're the sponsor for this segment. In fact, Joel's the one that told me about them originally. That's how I found them.
And they have a lot of her equipment is on my layout.
A lot of her equipment in my garage.
Listen, I'd love to see your layout. I haven't seen it. So if you'd like to show us some pictures sometime, just let me know and I'll get you on the show.
Okay.
From your garage. I'd love to see it. Okay, thank you, guys. Well, now I want to turn to Chris Course for the My Bills segment. But before I turn to Chris, I want to run the video for our sponsor. And I hate to say it, but I really do hate to say this. Dan Daugherty used to publish 2 magazines, S-Scale Resource and O-Scale Resource. About a week ago, I found out that the S-Scale Resource publication has ceased publication. So the last issue that everybody got, the first part of October, will be the last issue that's published. I did not know that when I wrote the last article. And I'm sorry that I wasn't able to say goodbye to the readers of the S-Scale publication, because I had articles in every issue for the last 7+ years. I do hope, since there's no longer an S-Scale publication, and since we have the 2 S-Scale segments on our show once a month, I hope that some of the S-Scalers will consider joining our show so that we can continue to have the benefit of their expertise and find out really what's happening in the S-Scale community and the S-Hi-Rail community. We can also, of course, include their information, as I told Jamie and Joel, of course, knows, in our newsletter. So there would still be an outlet for the S-Scale news and the S-Scale capabilities for those people who are not members of the association. The association has its own publication and so forth, and Dan Dowdy is the editor of that publication. I really hated to see Dan close it down, the S-Scale Resource publication, but I totally understand why he did it. And I did want to make sure that I said these few words about it this evening. So, Pat, if you can please run the video for Dan's company as the sponsor for the My Build.
Welcome to the world of scale, O and S railroading. We are your resource for all O and S scale modeling. Both our magazines are advertiser supported and free to read online, download as a PDF, or even print. All advertisers are hot linked to their website, so if you see something you like, just click. Please check out our websites for the current issues. All back issues available free for the O-Scale Resource and the S-Scale Resource magazines. And, if you are a manufacturer, distributor, or retail establishment, please contact us through our website for advertising opportunities.
Well, now let's turn to Chris Course. Greg is not here this evening. He's on vacation on the beach. But Chris is going to do everything. And Chris, to answer your question, I do need the photos and the information and so forth the same as you used to send it to me after the show tonight.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Welcome, everybody. And let's go to full screen here. Where'd it go? Oh, it's buried underneath this. Hang on a second. Maybe. There we go. You'll see it here in a second. All right. My build tonight is a free-for-all, and it's featuring you. Tonight is October 16th, unless I missed something, which is entirely possible. But all right. And I'm your host, Chris Course. Like Jim mentioned, Greg is not here this evening. And we shall move on. First up, we've got Ed Cady. I missed getting him in last month. But Ed, are you up?
I don't think he's here.
Okay. All right. So we'll go ahead and press on. And let's see. He was going to do an overview of his layout, but I think what he's actually doing is he is modeling. It looks like HO, but it's not. It's something slightly different. But he did send us a number of photos of the work that he's done on his locomotives to get them to the right scale for what he's looking to do. He regauged the engines. And let's see. Okay, looking at this, it looks like it still has a standard tender. He hasn't changed any of the gauges on the gauge on that yet. Showing the narrow standard gauge. Yeah, I think what you're looking at here is you do see a standard and then there's a narrow for what he's doing. And all right. So this is some of his track work. And I believe if I'm looking at this right, and from what he has sent in, it looks like this is what the axles looked like originally on his locomotive. So anyway, thanks, Ed. I wish I could talk a little more intelligently about it, and wish you were here to share those.
If I might interject, it almost looks like he's trying to do is like S standard and S42, which would be HO scale track with S scale trains, but that's just a wild guess. So
okay, yeah, I know he's doing something that's I think it was HO based, but I'm not sure exactly what. So
I think he was working in HO, but trying to do colonial broad gauge. So I see dual gauge. That might be showing you the HO scale track, and then the wider in HO to broad gauge.
Okay. All right, that makes
Yeah, that
sense.
would make sense.
All right. Well, thanks for chiming in, guys. That adds some clarity to it, I think. All right, and then let's see. Greg sent some stuff in. So he's got 15 photos, and these are of his layout. So here we see. I know this is a. See, he says this is what the layout looked like on the first couple photos here. This is what it looked like when it was mostly done, and I think it took 28 years for him to go from this until what he's going to show you here in a few minutes. Yep. See, that's looks like it's all well and good. It looks a little desolate in that there's not, or Spartan, I should say. But looking a little further down here, he took everything off of the layout, all the cars and some of the buildings, but before he went ahead and added some more items to it. So working on the middle section, that was all that I thought I could get done before the tour date. I used mostly Martin Wahlberg products with some very helpful advice from Bob Gelmacher. So moving on a little bit, and you see the Martin Wahlberg stuff there. A little bit goes a long way. If you've tried Martin Wahlberg stuff, it just adds a big pop. You can kind of see it right there in the middle where he's started doing some work and working on the groundscaping and or landscaping, I guess you'd call it. He said after the tour, I started working on the west end of the layout. By now, I had the static grass applicator to use with even more Martin Wahlberg products. All right, so he moves on. So there's a small pond, which that might be in another photo here. But okay, so we're looking at, it looks like he's got some nice rocks in there that he's done up. You can see the Martin Wahlberg stuff right in the middle, and that stuff looks fantastic. There's all the toys that he played with when he's doing that, the different grasses and Martin Wahlberg products that he was using. There's a static applicator right there, just to the right of center. And it looks like it's the Woodland Scenics. And now, see, this is right where things start to pop. Well, really pop. You see the what do you call it? The weeds and the bushes and things of that nature that he started to put in, and it adds a whole new dimension to his layout, as you can see. Then moving on. Oh, there's the pond he was talking about. And as you can see, he added some grasses to that. And a little bit of Martin Wahlberg goes a long way. That's some good stuff right there. And then, okay, this is the said I used the static grass to create a small parking area where rail fans can take photos. I have a couple of them on order from Mini Prints. So that's a spot for observation. You can kind of see it right there to the left and surrounding that car a little bit. But you can see where he's added all these static grass products, the weeds, all that. And it really makes a big difference. A little bit goes a long way when it comes to making a difference. All right. And you can see got a couple of tires thrown in the weeds there. Looks like an old frame that somebody's just tossed aside. And you can see another angle of that same area. And then you see The thing I thought was really interesting about this photo is the amount of detail on the supports on the left there. Thought that was really neat. And then yet another angle, and it kind of puts this out in the country there. See the little doghouse. A lot of little bitty details that that a lot of model railroaders go for. Just little scenes. In fact, if you go to George Celios's, that's pretty. I mean, there's a lot. You'll just completely overwhelmed. From what I understand, every time you go there, you'll see something different that you didn't see the time before. I've only been there once, but I can attest that holy mackerel, there are tons and tons and tons of details on George Celios's layout, and I guarantee you, in the 2 hours I spent there, I missed most of the details because it is just so massive and there's just so much there. All right, so there's a before and after picture, and as you can see, all those little weeds and things that Greg added really make a huge difference. So I think that is it for, actually, that is the last slide that Greg sent us. So thanks for sending that if you're joining us, Greg. And actually, I kind of hope you're not. So enjoy your evening, your relaxation, and your time down in Rehoboth. So. All right, moving on. Leonard Davis. This is another one I guess that somehow got missed the last time around. Are you up, Leonard? All right. Now I do have a little bit of a description. Okay. Do have some description on this. He said he did this build about 4 years ago. It's a maintenance of way depot in O scale. He says it's scratch built, and there's an ROW depot scratch built, including a high rail track. It's currently static, and says this is all O scale. So we've got about 9 more photos here. So you can see the motor car in there, and see all the detail in the decking. How it looks like it's not new. See the slope in that roof. It's a nice job he did on that roof. And there's the money shot right there. You look right into the building there. You see all those details, the bottles and the barrels in there, and it just a lot of detail there. And there's actually not a lot in that, but yet it brings the scene out if you notice. So we'll go on to this one. Again, some more barrels. Your gas pump back there for fueling up your vehicle. Another shot of pretty much the same thing. And then there's the roofing. Looks like it's not a new roof, and that's pretty well guarantee that's what he was going for, is not a new roof. So it's got a little bit of detail to it. And there you can see he did a nice job with the grass, getting it to come up between the ties. So that came out very nicely. And of course you see the rust effect of that the rails would leave. So, all right. Thanks for sharing, Leonard. And we will move on. Bob, are you up?
Yes, sir.
All right. Looks like you got 4 slides to show tonight. Excuse me.
So this HO scale, and I named it after Greg Cassidy as a good modeler and stuff like that. The boat in the front is a Pricer boat. Next picture, Oh, sorry. Interaction Hobbies is the kit manufacturer. The kit was called Sea Biscuit Marine, and I named it Cassidy Marine. Okay, next picture.
Yep.
Yeah, there's the interior of it. In the very middle there, you can see the bottom or the part of the lights that I had in there. And I want to detail the interior, but I didn't want to do a second set of lights in there. So I'm stuck with this thing sticking out here a bit, right in the middle. But other than that, and it comes with, for example, with a lot of details. Most of the details inside there are mine. But there's a little gas meter right in the middle bottom there, which is kind of neat. Really tricky to work with, actually. Next one. And there's another angle there. And yeah, much to say, but okay. This is on a diorama, by the way.
Oh.
And the next one. And that's it.
All righty. All right, looks good. Thanks for sharing, Bob.
Yeah, the picture angles are a little bit off because I was doing it on the floor because my 12-foot workbench was fully loaded with stuff. So
I know the feeling.
Or lay down there and take a picture, and that's why it's in an angle. So,
all right.
Okay.
All right. Are there any questions for Bob? All right. Well, thanks for sharing, Bob, and we will move on. Earl Hackett, you up, Earl?
Should be here a minute ago.
I know. I'm trying to get my phone working.
Alrighty.
I had to go on the phone because the internet was not stable.
Oh, okay.
You know, as I work on, I try to figure. Never used the phone for this before.
Alrighty.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. You can hear me. That's great. Go ahead, blaze away.
All right.
Okay. This is the track plan of Thurman, West Virginia, back in 1948, about that time, 1948 to 1952, and it fits very nicely along the back wall of my basement track room. And you can see the top plan is the original. That's the actual from the C&O railroad, and down below is my interpretation of that on my layout. And basically, everything from the bridge and the station on the right over to just past the coaling tower is going to be modeled exactly to scale as it existed in that time frame. Go ahead and flip the next picture. That's a more detailed shot of what's going to be built. Some of the yellow outline are the railroad structures. The green outlines are businesses and private residences. They'll all be modeled. And what I'm really looking forward to is that bridge on the lower right. That's going to be fun building that sucker. Go ahead, go to the next one. This is the layout as far as I've gone. So it's way in the background there in the center, almost center, but a little above center to the left is the Kincaid building. That's one of the business structures. I've built that one. And in the lower left is the freight house. You'll notice that the freight house is built on a trestle. There was no room in this place for the tracks are right along the edge of the escarpment. The mountain comes down this little flat spot and it goes down into the river. So many of the buildings were built on basically on trestles over the edge of the side. And what I'm using for roadbed there, that is a product from Home Depot. It is called what they call sandy board. It is a pine product, plywood from Honduras, and it takes spikes just beautifully. I mean, it's it's the nicest stuff I've ever worked with. So I put that on top of the home soap, and that's my basic ties and track go right on top of that. It's just a wonderful material to work with if you're hand laying a track. Of course, this thing, all the switches are custom made for the spot. They all have to be hand laid, and the mainline switches are I think they're number 20s, and the small engine areas, they're all number 6s, but they're all curved. They're curved number 6s. Makes it interesting for a person like me who likes to build his own track. So that's okay. Go ahead to the next one. This is the picture of the freight house, and with the bridge in the background, you can see I believe it's a Pratt truss. I can't remember now. It was a Pratt or a Howe, but anyway, it's a truss bridge, and you have girder spans beyond it. Interesting, there is a single lane roadway hanging off the side of the thing, which makes it a little bit more interesting to model rather than just a plain old bridge. If you take a look at the lower left, you'll see there's a depressed area there. And it was actually at one time another siding that came up into that area so they could unload from 2 tracks. It had probably supported about maybe 3 boxcars. The main freight house could handle 4. It was 200 feet long. So it could handle 4 or 5 40-foot boxcars. The depot itself is there, just a little corner of it sticking out there to the right. I'll go ahead to the next one. That's the picture of the freight house, and this is all I had to work with. Was just these pictures, but you can see that it's sitting on a piling there above the river. Go ahead to the next.
That's
the freight house. A better picture of it, so you can see where we're going. My benchwork is a little crude. It's all made from scrap lumber that I picked up from here and there. Most of it's from when I built the house. They had a pile of leftover cut-offs and everything, and I just threw them in the basement. And when it came time to build my layout, I had probably 90% of the wood I needed right there. It's all 2x4 and 2x6, 2x8 dimension lumber. The reason I finally decided to do this is because I discovered 3D printing. That freight house is, except for the wood structures underneath. I mean, the only thing that looks like wood is wood, so I don't 3D print that. But the whole thing is all 3D printed. It's about I was going to bring it down to I'm heading down to the NMRA convention. I was going to bring it with me, but the doggone thing is almost 6 feet long and weighs probably about 15 or 20 pounds. I set it down. I'll take some smaller stuff for demonstration purposes. Okay, go ahead to the next one. That's the bunkhouse. This is the first building I built for it. And that one I brought along with me to the convention. It was interesting in that there are 2 sections of it. And when I first talked to people, asked, well, why were these 2 sections here? One was a fairly large section, and it was a fairly small section. And, oh, well, they were in the southern states. It was probably a black and white section. No, I finally did some more research on it. One section was for the engine men, and the other one was for the train men, the brakemen. So they segregated it because of their jobs. But they did share a common shower and bathroom. They did have separate locker rooms and separate cooking facilities, though. Okay, go ahead to the next one. And that's the overall. That's a classic shot of Thurman from up on the hill, but in the town area, entrance of the town. But all this is going to be modeled. All the track work. You can see that the track work gets pretty complicated, but it's not too bad. It's not my original. The first one I wanted to build was the Wilmington waterfront, which was an incredibly mess of track work with the Reading, B&O, and Pensy all servicing the area. down below the high line of the the main line, Pennsylvania main line going, New York to Washington, up on a not stone, but a brick viaduct. But that was long before 3D printing came along. And I built the Wilmington station. It took a whole year and about $600 worth of materials. And I concluded that this project was not possible with what the tools I had available. But with 3D printing, if I could get the old drawings for the other buildings, yeah, it could be done very nicely. Okay, go to the next one. That's the model of the bunkhouse as I built. That's the front. You won't see that from the aisle. But since you're standing in the New River, all you're seeing is the backside of all these buildings. So go ahead to the next one. That was all 3D printed too. That's the Kincaid building. This is the first one I've tackled, and right now I just have the primer coat on it. But it's coming along pretty well. It has on the left side, it's built so close to the other buildings, built so close that you can't see it. And originally I was not even going to bother putting that side on the building because they're only 6 inches apart. I mean, 6 real inches apart. But I put it on as a test piece to see if I could see if it was going to work. And it finally came out pretty well. Go ahead, go to the next one there. That's the Kincaid building front. That's an old view of. That's probably from the 1930s. And go ahead to the next one there. I think I have a picture. That's the building as it exists. That's my model as it exists today. The brown is purely a primer coat. It's a primer coat, and that'll be covered with. We'll go after it with some darker browns and washes and stuff to lighten it up, give it some more interest. Right now it's very flat, but it was cut stone, and if you were here, I'm going to go over in a presentation here at the convention exactly how I did all the cut stone on that thing. It was an interesting 2-month experiment, but it's all the blocks they're all individually cut blocks, and from a prototype wall. So that's sort of an interesting way to approach it. Oh, go ahead to the next one. Oh, here we go. This is the only inside view I have of any of the buildings. Now, I take that back. I have 1 or 2 shots at the inside of the depot, but of the commercial buildings, this is the only one that I have. It's the restaurant that was in the Kincaid building. It was on the far left side, as far as I can tell. There were 3 buildings of the 3 businesses. They had the restaurant, there was a lawyer or somebody's office, and then a dry goods store on the far right. So I had this picture. So I wanted to model the entire interior of this particular section as close as I could, based on the photograph I have here. So go ahead to the next one. Not a great photograph, but if you look in the back, you'll see that I found the copies of the 2 original Coca-Cola ad posters and reproduced them on the wall there. And here we have the figures in there are commercial figures, and I discovered that they're grossly oversized. The guys are like 8 feet tall, but they're in there, and I'm not going to tear everything apart to get them back out. So go ahead to the next one there. This one here is also a 3D printed model. Commercial figures, you can't position them where they're doing something useful, where they're doing what you want them to do. I wanted a secretary who's sitting in this office and is typing. So I 3D printed this sucker. The typewriter I found in an old ad for typewriters from somewhere in some vintage catalog. The desk and the chair are modeled after my desk and chair. My desk is a roll top. I just didn't put the top on there. And the phone is an old phone. You can still see the scale with that eraser there. It's a tiny little thing. And the figure is 3D printed also on my equipment, and it's from what's called DAZ Studio. It's a freeload download, and you can get these figures that you can position the way you want them. And so I made a secretary for myself. Okay, go to the next one there. And this is the other end of the building. This is the dry goods store. The interior is pretty. All the figures in there are 3D printed, and they're the proper size. They're all between 5'6" and around 5'6" high scale, 5'6" foot, and all the cans and stuff. That's all printed and 3D printed and stuck in there. I'd like to have had a better things in better focus, but it was really difficult with the camera I have. Okay, go ahead, blaze away.
Oh, looks like that was it.
Okay, that's it. Okay, great. Hey, Earl, it's Bob Yeah. Delmacher. I got a question for you. On the building where you had to cut stone, did you 3D print those stones? Yeah, it's all 3D printed. Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna go over in detail how I did that at the convention tomorrow, or Friday rather.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see how you did that.
It was interesting. I made several attempts at it until I finally found something that actually worked, and I'm still finding better ways to do things.
What program did you use to do that, if I can ask?
I did it with I did it in the CAD system that I use, which is Rhino 3D. You could do it in Blender. There are several other programs, but I don't know. I don't know what the procedures would be in those programs. I've been using Rhino for 15 years now, and previously I was using other programs, CAD programs that were very, very similar to it. And I just don't want to change my motor memory. I go to other programs and I keep doing the wrong thing because the interface, the human interface, is different.
I understand. Thanks.
Wow, fantastic work, Earl. Anybody have any more questions for Earl before we move on? All right. Well, thanks for sharing, Earl. Appreciate it.
Take care.
And enjoy the journey down to North Carolina.
Yeah, right now I'm here in Exmoor, Virginia. Just
that's right.
Just north of the bridge. That's why I'm on my phone here. I can't use the computer. Their Wi-Fi isn't capable of handling the traffic.
Yep. Yep. Been through Exmoor many times. I think there's a caboose out there somewhere, isn't there? And I think maybe a small railroad museum.
Yes, there is. It's down in Cape Charles, a little town called Cape Charles. It's about 10 miles down the road.
Yeah, yeah.
We've been there many times. It's sort of a neat little town.
Yep, definitely is. All right. Well, thanks, Earl. Have good, safe travels.
Okay, we'll talk to you again.
Say hi to Jack for us.
Will do.
All right. Next up, Jeff Jordan. You up, Jeff?
I'm here, Chris.
All right. It's good seeing you over the weekend. Looks like you've got 7 slides tonight.
Okay, yeah. This is, though I've shown bits and pieces of my layout before, this is a little bit of a tour to see some of the scenes on the layout. And I had made a distinct effort to get some scenery, and I didn't get quite as much as I had hoped, but everything has been upgraded. There's no bare wood left anymore. And so here are some scenes. This is Ophir, Colorado, a historical photograph on the left that I'm using for reference. And then my interpretation here on the right, the building in the back is the Oilton Club, which is a terrific model from Banta. The other structures are not available as kits, and I haven't attempted yet to scratch build any of them. So I've got some placeholders right now that are similar, though not identical, to the originals, but nice kits. Actually, the one on the left there is not a kit at all. That was one of the structures that I scratch built. It actually stands in St. David's Church, Virginia, but it's been transported to Colorado. And then the one on the right is Dill's Grocery, which is an American Model Builders kit, which I finished, modified a bit. And I really love the little mini prints on the front porch there. It's got the ride-on horse, which I remember fondly from my childhood. And as you can see, the scenery has started here. No, it's not intended to look like after a snowfall, but it's actually got some texture going there. Combination of Sculptamold and Woodland Scenics Moldacine has filled in the soil. And so the next step, I'll begin to add some color and some ground cover. Next slide. Okay, this is also an Ophir. And the Rio Grande modelers know this is the house at the end of the trestle. I found this in Pittsburgh, or this kit in Pittsburgh, and was so happy to find it. I put it together almost immediately with a couple of variations. The house over time had different roofs. To do something different, I did the vertical roofing rather than horizontal roofing. Also, apparently at some point, the shed was unpainted, and then later, as you can see in the photo, it got painted. But it's pretty similar. And then I had fun. Actually, something I learned from this program, in the close-up photographs of the building, you can see draperies in all the windows. And so, as you can see on the right, this house has got curtains with a floral print on it. That is single ply tissue paper colored with a Sharpie. And of course, it all needs lots of scenery yet. Next slide. This structure you've seen before, this is Lizard Head, but several developments since the last time. While I was up in Pittsburgh, I discovered a peel and stick tar paper product in the original building. Actually, in the period I'm modeling, they had put tar paper over the shingled roof, so I did that. I'm still working a bit on darkening it down yet a bit more. It comes bright red, and I've toned it down. It needs a bit more toning down. The other thing that I've done recently, which I was very happy with, is the shingles on that roof are actually Clever Models printed paper shingles. And as they originally went down, they looked very flat and didn't have any dimensionality to them at all. I came back with a fresh, sharp X-Acto blade and did some cuts around the shingles, and then hit the cuts with an alcohol pen. And as you can see, it's really made the shingles look dimensional and stand out. So I'm really happy with that discovery. The building itself is scratch built entirely out of wood. There are Tichy doors and windows, but everything else about that structure is scratch built from strip stock. On the left is the speeder shed, which was a trick because nobody has published any plans that I could find to that building, and nobody seemed to focus on it when they took a picture. It's usually partially obscured. And finally, from several photographs, I was able to estimate the dimensions and scratch build the speeder shed. And it's 100% scratch built. There are no commercial products in that building whatsoever. And it's got a Keith Wiseman track speeder parked out front. Over on the right is a snow fence, all scratch built from plans. And on the left is the snow shed, also scratch built. Next slide. Here we are. you've seen this building before. This is the Lionel Rico Depot, much modified to delete the gingerbread and the telegraph tower, which was gone by my time period. And then most recently, the platform all the way around the building has been done up. So there's no plastic platform anymore. That is a massive quantity of coffee stirrers, all stained with hunter line stains and then glued around the building. I'm really happy with the final product there. And as you can see, it heads off into the distance towards town. And since it doesn't quite match Dolores or Rico, I decided to give it its own name. It's named Uncompahgre, which there actually is no town of Uncompahgre, but there's Uncompahgre County. Uncompahgre is a Ute Indian word that means dirty or muddy water. Got the Galloping Goose parked out front there. And the fellow standing in the distance with his shovel is another figure that I've just painted using the painting technique I demonstrated a few weeks ago. Next slide. Okay, here we are in Vance Junction. The progress here is the scenery. Vance Junction had an elevated siding behind the coaling tower where they literally hand shoveled the coal out of those gonds into the coaling tower. And so now there is elevated real estate behind it with track on it. And in the near future, it'll have some plaster and ground cover and begin to blend it all in. But at least all the ground underneath the coaling tower now is got a starting layer of scenery, no more wood. And next slide, I think, is the rest of Vance Junction. Yep, there we go. This is down the track a bit from Vance Junction. The section house is a kit by Banta, which he will, in O scale, it's regularly in his catalog in HO scale, custom run it in HO scale upon advance request. And it's a beautiful structure, replicates the original structure precisely. And then in front of it, the Rio Grande Southern never really had a station at Vance Junction. The building is commonly mistaken as a station, is actually a section house. The section agent lived there with his family, and there was also a separate bunk room because Vance Junction was a location where the snowplow crews often spent the night. So there was room for them in that building. But the building in front is obviously an old passenger car that's been reused, and that is the actual depot at Vance Junction. And to keep it in scale with the rest of my stuff, though, there are models available of that car. That's actually a Bachmann passenger car I was given that had been damaged. And I took the opportunity, took the frame off of it, boarded over the rest of the windows just like the prototype, added the platform, painted it up, and the sign, the Western Union Telegraph sign, is off of the internet. I found the appropriate sign, resized it, printed it out, and added it to the building. The lantern is a 3D print that I also found online. And are there any more?
I think so. Let's see. Yep, there we go. One more.
Okay. Yep. We're back at Uncompahgre. And the latest development here is there is a similar photograph showing trains going into Dolores, Colorado. And the Rio Grande Southern had a bunch of these three-way stub switches. And they existed right up until the end of the railroad in 1951. And I discovered a company called Empire Track Work, Adam Loiseau, who custom makes track work, including, in my case, a three-way stub switch. And it's a work of art, beautifully, look, three frogs in there, the guardrails, and it works beautifully. And I'm working on adding on the right, though it's powered by a switch machine. I'm going to add or link the harp switch stand on the right so that the harp switch stand will actually move with the three-way turnout. But the Rio Grande Southern is very distinctive in having these three-way stub switches. And so I really wanted to add a three-way stub switch, and it just installed it and dropped right in beautifully. And then a couple of other things. You can see a couple of other odds and ends in the background. Another hand car house on the right. That's a resin kit. And in the distance, the FD Work and Company hardware company was actually in Telluride, Colorado. It's a terrific building. It's the only structure on my layout that I didn't build, that somebody else built, and then decided that it didn't fit their layout after they had done a magnificent job of finishing it with all of the signage on the front. And so when that came up, I couldn't resist, even though I don't have Telluride. It's been moved to Uncompahgre and fits in the layout. You see the Galloping Goose there on the left, and then behind it, another recent project. That's Goose number 1, which was the notorious Banta model, or not Banta, Bachmann model that doesn't run well. And Stan Shields has been producing and offering a remotor kit for it, which works beautifully. And so I took the opportunity to remotor it with his kit. And then it ran so well, I added DCC and sound. And then at Pittsburgh at the convention, I found a Banta kit to put the box on the back. And so it's a nice little project and is a terrific reproduction of Goose number 1. You can see finally in the distance, I've begun to work on some trees there, and we're going to have some aspens because this is Colorado, and whatever time, the aspens are only gold like that for around 3 weeks, but you got to have some aspens in Colorado. So working the aspens in there. And so that's kind of an update, and I hope the next time I show you the layout, we'll have a lot more scenery.
Cool.
Jeff, can you send me an email with contact information on the person that made your switch for you?
Yeah, Empire Track Work. I'd be glad to do so. And he is on the internet and has a web page. And the fellow's name is Adam Loiseau. And he was at Pittsburgh, and I met him in person and spoke with him at Pittsburgh as well. He started out just as a hobbyist, a fellow who scratch builds his own turnouts. Yeah. And he got sufficiently proficient at it that he started selling them. And as you can see, he does an incredible job.
Absolutely.
I'll send you the particulars.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, Jeff.
You're welcome.
I want to have him on the show because he could probably give us some tips on things he's learned in scratch building turnouts all this year.
Yeah, I'm sure if you can pry him away from his full-time job and his business making turnouts, he was very friendly and very helpful in talking about the business of making turnouts.
Thank you.
Sure.
Beautiful work.
If I could add just a couple of things, I think he says Loazo. At least that's what his father always said.
Oh, okay.
His father was a longtime S-scale modeler out in California, and is currently selling off all his stuff because his wife is not in good health. So, but he was at the S-scale convention in Harrisburg, and I met him there. He's a very nice guy. You're right.
Well, that collection he's got, Jamie, 50 years or something of collecting S-scale? It must be just a tremendous collection.
Oh yeah, I mean, obviously he's been selling it off for a bit now, so he doesn't have all that he used to, but he pretty much had one of everything that was ever made in S-scale kind of thing.
Yeah.
So he was a New York Central guy, so we had a lot of New York Central stuff.
Right.
All righty. Well, thanks, Jeff. Are there any questions for Jeff before we move on? All righty. Well, thanks, Jeff. Once again, this is fantastic work there.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, we have Ed O'Rourke. You up, Ed?
Yes.
All right. Looks like you've got 2 slides tonight.
Yep.
All right.
Okay, so this is at my old house.
I had an outdoor layout, you know, of G scale. And I don't have any place for that here. We're in a condo development, and there's no, you can't do that kind of thing outside. But I did run it around on a shelf on the top of my layout. So it just runs around in a loop up there. It was the first thing I did when I moved into this house, just to get something I could run a train on. And the low bridge clearance, 6 feet 0 inches. We have a railroad bridge on the Liverpool Parkway outside of town here that's got a 10-foot 9-inch clearance. It was originally over the Oswego Canal, which was a part of the old Erie Canal. And it is marked, you know, for, you know, low clearance, no commercial vehicles allowed on the parkway, low clearance, no this, and about once a month at least, if not more, it eats a tractor trailer that didn't believe the clearance sign and takes the top off it. And so far, I think the score is bridge, about 600, tractor trailers 0. So that's sort of my homage to that in the entry there. Next slide.
Yeah, we've got about 3 bridges in this area that all are that way.
All right, and this is the Marklin trains, and that's my grandson that came back from Germany with my father, who was in Germany with the National Guard during the Korean War. Brought them home for his boys. This is just a part of it. I've got a ton more of it that I've got in a box I don't have room for. But I set this up when we moved on a 36-inch wide by 6'8" hollow core door, and you know, set it up for the kids to run it around. So they have a great time running it around in circles, and you can actually do some switching and some things like that on it too. So that's just that's another layout in the house. This one, so we had my father, me, my children, and now my grandchildren. So this is 4 generations of this Marklin trains that have been running all this time, which I think is pretty impressive. I think that's it.
Yep. All right. Well, thanks for sharing, Ed. Are there any questions for Ed before we move on? All right. Thanks again, Ed.
Okay. Yeah.
Next up, Dave Schultz. You up, Dave?
I'm here.
All righty. Looks like you've got 6 slides tonight.
Yeah. Now we'll show everybody what a mess looks like.
I know the feeling.
Yeah. Clark Kooning would not be happy with me. Not supposed to use your layout as a workbench. But anyway, my room is 14 by 21. So I've got to cram a lot of stuff in a little area. And this is part of my time saver. And in Laverne, Minnesota, they had a situation. They had river on one end and village on the other. And they had 2 industries they needed to serve. And this was the only way they could get to the 2 industries and yet still have room for car storage. So I thought, you know, that's kind of a nifty idea, because if you put the turnouts back to back there, you'd end up with about 1 car length of room. So I thought that needed to be modeled. And that was a real beast building that. I hand built all of that, and soldering those pieces together. I must have done that 6 times because I kept getting the angles wrong. And I'd make a jig and I'd hold it in there. And then when I put the parts back in the jig, of course, they didn't fit. So I don't know what I did wrong, but anyway, yeah, you can see the all the turnouts in this are hand laid, and I'm getting pretty good at it now. I can whip one of those out in about an hour and a half. So anyway, next slide. This is a model of St. Cloud, Minnesota. The Northern Pacific had a double track main, and then the track in the foreground actually went to a lumber yard, and then there was a siding on the other side, but I ran out of space, so I could only do 3 of the 4 diamonds. But right about where you see those spikes laying, that's where the tower is going to stand. I've got that built out of Legos so far. It's kind of embarrassing, but once I get her covered up with brick, you'll never know the difference. But anyway, this is my rendition of St. Cloud, Minnesota, and the diamonds on the Northern Pacific. Okay, next one. My grain elevator. When I was growing up, my father used to take me along. He drove truck, and he hauled a lot of grain out of elevators that the railroads had kind of given up on. So the trucks took over, and I remember backing down many a right away where the rail had been taken up, but the ties were still there. And my father would back his truck down in there, and they'd load it at the old railroad loadout. So I'm actually going to put rail here again. I had code 125 rail in there, and I decided I'm going to put code 100 into the grain elevator. This is an O-scale Proto 48 layout. So code 100 comes out to around 84, 85 pound rail. So I thought that'd be perfect for the grain elevator scene. My grain elevator took a hit in the move, so I'm slowly gluing it back together. There's all kinds of lights in it, and once I get her put back together and the rail laid through there, it hopefully, if you do this show again a year from now, I'll have something to show up. Oh, you can see my tower in the background there, made out of Legos.
So. Yeah, I think there's another picture of the Legos somewhere along.
Oh, okay.
Along the way.
All right, off to the next one.
And there we go.
There it is. There's St. Cloud Tower sitting there with the Lego tower. Anyway, those diamonds are from Jay Criswell. They're absolutely gorgeous. They're nickel silver. They're cast, and they come in 4 pieces. And you put a little bit of you can see the little white divider in there, a little piece of plastic. I use 20 thousandths in there to space it, and it gauges perfectly. It was just kind of crazy. The cars roll over. That's so nice. But yeah, St. Cloud, I used to stand down there when I was younger and watch the trains roll by there. And of course, the guy in the tower he'd wave at you, but he would never ask me to go up in there. So doggone him. I always wanted to go up in that tower. So, and then you see the NP boxcar in the background there. That's my test car for running over all the track work to make sure it works. So, and all of this is laid on sheetrock, which is kind of odd. I never thought of using sheetrock before, but I've put down 1/2-inch plywood, and then I put 5/8 sheetrock on top of that and screw it down. And I've laid ties on this using silicone, and the stuff is amazingly stable. I don't have any problems. I've had friends that used Hamasot and stuff, and they've had what looked like sun kinks as temperatures rise and humidity goes up. And this stuff doesn't seem to be affected by humidity or heat or anything else. So it's kind of a grand experiment. I'll let you know later if I have trouble with it after I get some ballast put in there and such. But anyway, next slide.
Yeah, I think using Legos like that is a very common technique.
Yeah, and they make a nice brick layer that you can lay over the top of it, and you'd never know it was a Lego when it was all said and done. Yeah. Oh yeah, here's
just David Fileno, just one comment. Try adhering your ballast, because silicon caulk is notorious for not taking paint. And I don't know if glue for ballast would adhere to it. I always use acrylic, which doesn't have silicon, which is more water-based.
Sure.
And that way it paints better and it glues adhere to it better. So it might be careful with silicons.
All right, thanks. Anyway, this is part of what I call St. Cloud Yard. The Great Northern had a yard in St. Cloud, and with the room that I've got, I wish I had a lot more room, but this is about as much of the yard as I'm going to be able to do. And so it's pretty much freelanced, but I figure, if you bring in 10 or 15 cars into the yard, the guy will spend an hour switching each of the industries and pulling out the loads, putting in the empties. And so I think people who like to switch, I'm not a big switch fan. I'm more of an orbiter, but the people that like to switch, I think they'll find this a lot of fun and kind of challenging to get the cars spotted and the loads pulled and then get the train reassembled. And I do have a runaround in there, so you'll be able to run around cars that are in the wrong orientation with the train. But it'll be kind of fun to watch people use their heads to get stuff switched out and put away where it's supposed to be. So next one, if there is another one.
Yep, man, it looks like
there's the last one. Yeah, there's looking, and look at that mess. That's almost pathetic. But anyway, you can see where my little grain elevator is. But like I said, the room's only 14 by 21, so I think I'm gonna pull off a lot of railroading action in a very small space. And of course, I'm detailing the heck out of it so that hopefully every time you come down and look at it, you'll find something new in the yard. But I haven't started any of the scenery. I'm still just laying track. I don't even have a loop around the layout yet. But eventually, hopefully a year from now, I'll have the track laid around a circle and be able to run things and be able to bring trains into St. Cloud Yard and switch them out. But I have 60-inch curves on the main line, and then to get into St. Cloud Yard is like a 40-inch curve, so it's a little tight. So everything I have is going to be 4-axle units and 50-foot cars. So don't be deceived by the passenger cars in the scene. They won't be running on this layout. So, but is that the last one? I think it is.
Yes, it is.
All right, very good. There's my layout so far. Stay tuned for more.
Wow. All right. Thanks, Dave.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Are there any questions for Dave? All right. Well, thanks again. And we will move on. And I think this is the last one. Yep. Bill Stimson. You up, Bill?
I'm here.
All right. Looks like you've got 8 slides.
Yep. This is the track plan for my little N-scale layout with Atlas Code 55 track. And we'll go to the next one, Chris. Here's an overall picture of, and Dave was complaining about how mine's a little, not quite 8 feet by not quite 8 feet square. So you can see how much fun I've got trying to get stuff in here. I haven't had a chance since the summer to get back in here. It's up till yesterday, it was over 100 in Phoenix. So I have stayed out of my garage in this area because it's not air conditioned. So I started the scenery up in the upper left before I left on my summer vacation. In the lower left, you can see the buildings that I featured in the N-scale segment last week. I think some of the other buildings have seen time in the my builds. They're either kit or scratch built, and probably 50-50 on that. Next one, Chris. There's another top view of it. The station in the lower right, I think there's a better picture later, is still under construction. I'm hoping to finish it in time for the division meet this weekend, but we'll see. It's close. Next slide. Here's a close-up of the track work that is not, it's set down, but it's not fastened down. I'm using plywood and cork road bed. The building in the upper right is a scratch-built copy of one that's on George Celios's layout. Next slide. There's the train coming out of the tunnel at the far end over the bridge. The river hasn't been, that's probably the next is to put the water in the river. Next slide. There's another picture of the town area. The buildings in the upper right are from an old MR from the 1950s, if I remember, early 60s. They're not finished yet. They're built but not detailed. Next slide. Well, there's some more of the station that was still under construction when I took these photos last weekend. It's much further along than that at this point. I was fitting them in to make sure it fits. It's actually built on a curve, which will be interesting to finish. Next slide. There's where the buildings from the N-scale last week are going to be put on the layout as I finish. I got to build the bridge that the road crosses to get into town. Next slide.
Don't do that. It keeps the riffraff out.
Probably true, Chris.
All right, looks like actually that was the last slide.
You could make it a drawbridge.
I suppose I
Yeah.
could.
Yeah.
I think they made one of those kits in N scale once upon a time, either AHM or Bachman. I forget which one.
Alrighty. Are there any questions for Bill? Alrighty. Well, thanks, Bill. Looks like things are progressing very nicely, and we look forward to seeing what you come up with in the future.
Thanks, Chris.
All right. The next My Build is November 20th, and it is featuring you. It's a free-for-all, so email me your photos, railrunner130@hotmail.com to participate, and please try to get those to me by November 17th. That way we can make sure that we get everything in the slideshow. And then let's see, the December challenge is interiors, the insides of buildings, engine houses, caboose interiors, whatever you can come up with, because it's December and everybody's coming indoors. So let's go through and figure out what we're all doing indoors in terms of our model railroad people, and show that off. So that show would be December 18th. To participate, again, email your photos to me, railrunner130@hotmail.com. Please try to get those to me by December 15th. And then the following next regular My Build will be in January. Not sure what the date is on that yet. But anyway, so go ahead and email me your photos. If they're for December, please just mark that they're for December, and I'll go ahead and file those accordingly in the right places. So thanks everybody for sharing. This is a big episode here, and we got lots of participation, so that's very much appreciated. And I hope Greg's having a good time down at the beach, and I'll turn it back over to you, Jim.
Well, Chris, thanks so much. I mean, it's a great segment that you did tonight. I mean, you had some beautiful, beautiful modeling. Thanks so very much for doing it. Well, Pat, I think that pretty well closes down our show. So if we could do the caboose, please. Well, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Hope you enjoyed the show. Most importantly, I hope you learned something. That's what it's all about. Till next Wednesday, best of modeling to you. See you then. Great show, Pat.